Hello and welcome to another edition of What's on Your Mind. I'm Gavin.
I'm Jared.
And big news in the NFL this week, Jared. So we saw that the Patriots received their punishment for Deflategate. Tom Brady's going to be suspended for 4 games. Also, the team is fined $1 million, and then they lose a first-round draft pick for the next year's draft, which hurts them, and then a fourth-round pick for the year after. Jaren, this whole process has been really big on the NFL, a lot of controversial, a lot of different opinions on the punishment. What are your takes from Deflategate, and how do you feel like this whole situation has gone down?
Well, you know what, Gavin? Deflategate, it really hurts the Patriots in many ways. You know, they lose their multiple, 4-time Super Bowl winning champion for Tom Brady and for 4 games. And, they actually have an early bye. So he's actually going to be out, I believe, until week 6 is when he can return. So that's a really long time. They're going to have to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback they drafted in last year's draft in the second round. So they're going to have to rely on him, just to hold the reins down, at least maybe hold them around that 500 range. So when Brady comes in, just takes his snaps, just give him like a game, some time to just, get settled in. And, the Patriots can just go back to their winning ways.
And, I think the Patriots, they haven't been a team that gets out of the gates early. We see them go kind of 2-2, 3-2, and then they just turn it on, and then that's when they win, 10 games in a row or 8 out of 9 or something like that. And, we see the Patriots do it year in and year out. Do you think they'll be able to do it again this year, or how do you think their season's going to be?
Well, you know what? They did lose a lot of talent this offseason. They lost both of their starting corners in Darrelle Revis and Brandon Browner. So, they also lost Kyle Arrington. They just released him in the offseason. And, he just signed the deal with the Ravens, which, coming from a Bengals fan, I don't like. It's kind of scary to think about it, to add more inside that defense. Mm-hmm. But going back to the Patriots, they lost a lot in the secondary. There's some questions whether, their receivers are going to be able to stay healthy enough. Amendola, he's been kind of a bust in signing that lucrative deal with the Patriots.
I think Julian Edelman has had a really great, showing that he's the number 1 guy, even if he's coming out of the slot.
Gronkowski was he was able to stay, pretty healthy last year. He had his, on back to those Pro Bowl numbers types of years. He really helped Brady out in the playoffs, but just losing Brady for 4 games, also losing the first round pick in the next year's draft, that really hurts them developmental wise. They could have drafted, like needs maybe at a corner spot, depending on how the corners play this year. But let's see how Logan Ryan can do.
Yeah, and Malcolm
Butler, here won the Super Bowl, so
don't forget that the Patriots just signed Fred Davis too, the former Redskins tight end.
That's right.
He was a franchise tag player. And, now he's playing along Gronkowski,
just
and
has
maybe
to
we'll
stay
have
healthy,
that good duo.
Right?
Yep, he's coming back from that suspension, so we'll see how he
going back to that Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski days, maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll see. They still have Tim Wright on the team, and then they have, I know they lost Stephen Ridley, but they still, and Shane Vereen, actually.
Yes.
But they still have LeGarrette Blount, even though he's suspended for the first game. But we'll see how that Patriots offense work. Jaren, how do you feel about the punishments, though, that were handed to the Patriots? Do you feel like that was fair? Or do you feel like, Roger Goodell just abused his power and, did not make the right choice again?
You know what? I think the NFL, Roger Goodell, I think they did a great job handling the situation. Coming into this, they were kind of, a little bit low-key, kind of, they didn't really talk about Deflategate, and a lot of people thought the Patriots were just going to be let go from the scandal. But, rules are rules. Brady, he had something to do with it, whether he actually physically, paid off any of the Patriots employees to, deflate the balls, whether he knew about it. Somehow he just knew about it, and he should have reported it. And because if he didn't, he deserves his 4-game suspension. We go back to, Spygate, and, there's just been a lot of, controversy.
But Spygate had nothing to do with Tom Brady.
Yeah, it didn't. It had nothing to do with Brady, but I'm just saying, for the Patriots, their team, Robert Kraft, for his franchise to keep being in the news for all the right and wrong reasons, people can look back, on the Patriots pretty much you can say they own the last decade in football.
Yeah.
it was pretty much the Patriots dynasty on Brady. But we can just look at this, and they're in the root. I mean, they're in the news for all the wrong ways as well as the right ways. But at what point does it offset? It's gonna scar Brady's legacy. People are gonna question whether how long has he used deflated balls at home. But it's just the Patriots deserved it. I think you break a rule, you have to face the punishment. You have to know what breaking a rule, you have to face the punishment.
I like what you're saying about that. Rules, if they are broken, you should enforce the punishment. But it's kind of like a catch-22. I haven't really heard Peyton Manning talk much about it. I haven't heard Drew Brees talk about it. I haven't heard any NFL quarterback talk about it. And what I kind of think is that all these quarterbacks today, they all have ways of manipulating the football and helping them gain a competitive advantage. For Tom Brady, it could have been that he liked the ball a little lighter. He liked it at this exact weight. But, when you check the PSI, he's probably just under it or somewhere around it. But Tom Brady, when he's preparing for a game, he's not, holding up a PSI meter to the football. He's trying to break it in. He's trying to feel which ones he likes, which ones he wants to use. So I really don't see the reason for a suspension for him. Maybe if he knew about it and he was texting them to make sure it's, you make it under the thing.
They did say Brady didn't allow any of the officials
would
read
you,
his emails.
Well, exactly, but would you want a $1 billion corporation to look at your personal messages too? A $1 billion NFL corporation that has so much money and power and influence. You want them to look at your personal messages
if
too?
you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide.
But that's just your privacy. You have the right to do that as an American and to keep your personal life to yourself, and that's what he does. Tom Brady, doesn't care about the publicity the NFL brings. But what I'm trying to say is that just having a company that has that much power and that much money and they can do whatever they want and they can see your personal business, it's not something you want. And as a person, I can understand why Tom Brady did not want to give his, personal messages over. He has the right to keep them to himself. And you know what? He doesn't need to show it to them. And, it's just, what would you feel in his shoes? Would you want this, big corporation who, is kind of corrupt? A lot of people criticize them. Would you want them looking in your personal messages and all your phones and stuff? That's just my opinion. So I really don't think Tom Brady should have been suspended. I think adding in the draft picks is just ridiculous for the franchise when you see that Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick had nothing to do with it. They had no idea, but you're going to still hit the franchise with that kind of punishment?
Well, it was team officials who deflated the balls.
Well, it wasn't Robert Kraft or Bill Belichick.
It wasn't, but they're part of the New England Patriots franchise,
But
all
your
employees.
But I'm sure that stuff goes on around the whole league, though.
Well, I'm sure it does. Gavin,
I'm sure the Bengals have situations like that too.
I'm sure it does, but
they've never been
why
caught
is it in a large situation?
So it's all right to do it. You're saying it's all right to do it as long as you don't get caught.
I'm not saying
no. You're saying it's all right to do it if you don't get caught, and that's what I do not like about this whole situation. It's you can punish them because they got caught, but we're gonna still do all this stuff. But as long as we don't get caught, we're just going to keep going along with it. And that's just not right. It's not right. And you know what? They don't deserve that if everyone else is doing it as well. If you go and investigate all these other two teams, I'm sure they're going to clean up their acts really, really quick. So, that's just how I feel on Deflategate. I still think the Patriots are going to win the division. Even though everyone else has gotten stronger, I still think that they're going to wind up 11-5, and it's still going to be enough to win off that division. Those teams are going to beat up on each other. I see them kind of maybe around 8-8, 9-7, maybe a 10-6 team, but I really think the Patriots are going to go 11-5. I think they're going to be most likely to win their division. I don't know if they'll get a first round bye or they'll be the number 1 seed, but you know what? They're going to have a home playoff game, and that's all Tom Brady needs.
You know what, Gavin? Losing Brady for 4 games, there's no way they go 11-5.
Really?
For them to go 11-5, Jimmy Garoppolo has to go at least 2-2 to be 500 going into Week 6 where Brady returns. From there, that means Brady's gonna have to go 9-3 the whole way. Just coming off of a suspension, he's gonna be a little rusty. He's gonna get time in the preseason. Historically, Brady doesn't play much in the preseason, but he's gonna have to get some reps in just because to get some game reps in. Just before his suspension looms for the first 6 weeks or 5 weeks of the season.
I think one thing that is very underrated on the Patriots is their defense. And now that you add Malcolm Brown to that D-line with Dominic Easley, Chandler Jones, you still have Rob Ninkovich. You're going to add in that.
They lose Vince Wilfork. They lose Darrell Revis.
They lost Vince Wilfork. But I think that defense with Jabal Sheard, they're going to have another pass rusher coming off the edge. 2 big, long pass rushers, just like your Cincinnati Bengals have. They're going to have Jabal Sheard, and they're going to have Chandler Jones. And they still have Rob Ninkovich as well to kind of throw in there. They still have one of the best cover linebackers in the game in Jamie Collins. They still have Dante Hightower, Gerard Mills coming back from injury. And they still have Devin McCourtney and Patrick Chung in the secondary. Malcolm Butler and Logan Ryan, or whoever they choose to put at the starting corners, are going to need to step up. Like you said, the loss of Revis and Browner, I think, are going to hurt that secondary a lot. But I still think that the Patriots will find a way to finish 11-5. I think they'll find a way to beat at least Jacksonville and, someone else that they're playing early, maybe Pittsburgh. We'll see it coming off at home. Maybe they'll come out hot and, they win that game. But it's going to be a great season. We're just getting started. We're going to go into the division by division next, and we're going to talk about, what we feel each team is going to do and, who's a liability, who's on the rise on that team. So it's going to be great. Jaren, anything else today?
All I have to say is look out for the Buffalo Bills this year.
Look out for the Bills?
Look out for the Bills.
Well, we'll talk about that next time. We're going to start off with the AFC East. But thank you again for watching. Leave your comments below. And make sure to check out our other videos as well. But I'm Gavin.
I'm Jaren. Aloha.
Thank you, guys.